What's up, man?
Hey, brother. So tell me how you feel. How was today for you?
I feel great. What a fantastic day. I really enjoyed it. I had to take off there for a little bit, but I had it playing on my phone. And Mary's presentation, wow, it really blew me away. I
Hmm.
was getting goosebumps as I was cruising down the road. I was looking at my wife and I was like, "Do you hear this?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "This is sick." Right.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'd learned something new today, and that's really the goal, right? To come to
Hmm.
conferences such as this, to be exposed to something new and learn something new. And I definitely learned something new today. I
Hmm.
can't say that I've ever heard, anything like that. So that really solidifies it in my mind that that this is real, right? That this is happening to our people, and
Yeah.
we need to understand why this is happening and who's doing it and how they're doing it, and and why isn't it happening to everyone? Right?
Hmm.
That's the main question. Like myself, I've never had an abduction issue, or I've never had any type of ET contact. So I wonder, why not me? Like
Yeah.
what's going on here?
Yeah. You know what? That's a great question. Okay. That's a great point. So we did an event, a 3-day event that we just ended with. Yesterday I had a day off, but before that I was doing 10 hours a day of the Galactic Heritage Conference with Laura Eisenhower, and she even mentioned the same thing and said that um, she's not a good person to ask a specific question to that someone was asking because she doesn't know that she has direct intentional conscious connection and interaction with extraterrestrials, right? But she's completely dedicated to the awareness of it, right? And for myself, same thing. I don't channel per se where I know I'm consciously speaking to an ET. They don't wake me up at the middle of the night and give me some information, but I do feel that like I'm downloading some awareness, and the whole thing and productions that I create are are informed by source, and I'm getting that connection. But I've dedicated my entire life, to many things within Ascension, but definitely the extraterrestrial question, and the reality of extraterrestrials is probably one of the things I've dedicated my life to the most, because if that is a reality and it does exist and they are ETs, which I believe, I just know how much more full of an experience and how fun it would be to interact with these beings, know where they're from, know how they connect to us, and then maybe even have some open contact where we're even walking the same planet with them in the future. But this is coming from someone that doesn't even have that intentional connection, you know?
Yeah, I hear you when when you say that, because I've said it before. It seems like I get this information. Somehow I become aware of something that I wasn't aware of before. And usually that's when I'm daydreaming, right?
Mm.
For instance, like when I'm sitting here and I just kind of zone out, right? After blunting, and, I zone out, and then suddenly a few speaking of blunting, eh? And, a few days later, I seem to have this awareness of something, and I go and do my research and I read up on it, and it turns out that whatever I'm reading, I'm somewhat aware of it. But I don't know if it's me reaching into the ether and getting connected somehow for like a few seconds or so and
Hmm. Hmm.
get that information. But I totally hear you. But I'd love to have ET contact. It's my intention
Yeah.
to have ET contact. So maybe that's why it's not happening.
Hey,
Because
I, I went to sleep every night for at least 2 years, maybe 8 years ago, asking for ET contact.
I tell you, it's a funny story. We think that Amy has been having ET experience since she was a child.
Hmm.
And so one night, I got mad, right? I was like, "Oh, damn these guys, right? They're taking me every night and leaving me behind." And I was like, forget it. So when we went to bed, I grabbed my house coat and the string on it, right? I tied it around her ankle and I tied it around my ankle, and I was like, "Well, if you're taking her, you're taking me too, man."
That's funny. So my wife Soul, that everybody's gonna get to meet tomorrow, she actually has had contact her whole life, right? When she was younger, she used to actually have like these dreams, these nightmares, and which in which she thought she was being raped by the devil. Okay. And then when she met me 10 years ago, we started going to all these experiencer support groups and talking to people and connecting with all these individuals. And then she started having realizing that a lot of these people in these groups had the same exact experiences, but they were actually extraterrestrials, or there were screen memories that they were given. But basically, that it seemed like this, but it was actually something else happening, where they were doing some sort of DNA, extraction or hybridization process. So she came into that awareness, and since I've been together, maybe every month or so, she would wake up hyperventilating and say, get off me," and there'd be an ET at the foot of the bed. Right, and she'd be like, "Oh my God, they're here." There'll be tall grays, or tall whites, or grays at the end of the bed. And she told me to stop asking for ET contact, because she said that she was getting it every time I asked for it.
That's kind of crazy, because Amy's experience is kind of somewhat the same, where
Yeah.
it began in her childhood, and she says that they're like kind of like dreams, but she says she always sees this guy wearing a white coat, and these really tall, beings. She can't see their faces, but she sees, like their coats, and she's always running from them, and hiding. But they always find her, and then return her at the end of the day. So and she's had this, like I said, her entire life, and it goes on today. So I've always wondered whether she's having, like really bad dreams,
Mhm.
or in fact she's like subconsciously being interacted with in a way that I don't understand, and
Yeah.
would like to understand. And really, that's one of the reasons why I got into this, right? Watchers Talk. Amy and I talked about it for a long time, and then I decided, I was like, okay, what we're gonna do? We're gonna start like this podcast, and we're gonna talk to authors and researchers and stuff on this subject, and of course
Mm.
things, and I'm going
Same.
to try to understand this. And so that's why in the very beginning of Watchers Talk, a lot of my stuff was based around UFOs and aliens and abductions and out of body experiences, things like that, because I was trying to understand on what's happening to my girl, and then I wanted to relay that information onto her, right, and see how we
Hmm.
can either work with these beings that she's interacting with, and kind of like work out a deal, right, where we can either nullify the contract,
Mm.
and say, hey, I'm a sovereign being, I cancel the contract, you have
Interesting.
no power over me anymore, kind of just beat it, right?
Yeah.
Or we come to a deal where you take her once a week or once a month, once a year, but things like that, right? But
Yeah. Yeah.
I learned a lot of things, right, over the years. But that's really one of my biggest reasons as to why I got into this to begin with.
Right, right. That's very interesting. And a lot of experiences, because in the early days of me being deeply into all this awareness, a lot of experiences would stop having experiences or conscious experiences. I think it was after 33 or 35, right?
Really?
A lot of people continue, but the majority stopped.
Yeah.
And it seemed like when a lot of women, because it was for women mostly, when they were getting to a stage where they're basically the ETs wanted to do something with their eggs and their DNA in order to hybridize and breed. And when they get to an older age, they don't need them anymore, and they stop interfering with them. And that's what happened to my wife. Is like she was having it almost every single month, and then for a couple of years, nothing. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, it started up again, but very spontaneously. And also, a lot of these experiences, their family members had experiences too. So there's something in that these beings, or whatever's occurring, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever's occurring is tracking the bloodline.
That's right. I
Uh huh.
understand it. I understand it all too well, and I hypothesized on this before. And what I came to learn is that majority of the abductions that are happening happen to women, and it's hereditary. So if you're a woman, you've been abducted. Chances are your mom has been abducted, your grandma's been abducted, your sister's been abducted, your auntie's been abducted. You've all had interaction with these ETs, and yeah, they're following the lineage. And I think what's happening is that sometimes when you see these UFOs flying around, they're actually scanning for DNA to see where these individuals live, right? Let's say you're like 40 years old, 50 years old, and you see a UFO hovering going past you, and you just think he's not doing anything. But I think what's happening is that they're scanning the area, and they're looking for their marker on the DNA of
Yeah.
every populace there, and then once they hone in on it,
Yes.
then that's it, man, game over, right? They'll do whatever it is that they need to do.
Hmm.
But it's hereditary, absolutely, and I think this
Hmm.
started probably about 12,000 years ago, just around the time when Atlantis went down, and then this new civilization, this new version, I call it human version 5.0, right? We're going into the 6.0 because of the sixth root race. The sub-root race, and root race, the sixth root race is what we're going into, and that's what we're ascending into, and then that's the next generation, right? Like the indigo children and star children, things like that. That's becoming more and more and more throughout the world, and not only that, every single household across the world has been reporting that their children are extremely smart and gifted and very good at problem solving, and their aptitude is very high compared to say Generation X, like our generation or our parents' generation, and so on and so on.
Right.
So I think they're going into they're like the first. I think Generation X was the first indigo generation.
What year was Generation X born?
That's between like 1962, 64, 65, right into about 1978, 79.
Well, couldn't the hippies who were around 18 to 20 in the 60s be indigos as well, right?
Yeah, they would be considered part of that Generation X. And then they would, yeah, I suppose, because no, actually, they would be at the very tail end, the beginning, the very beginning of the indigo, that energy step up from that previous generation, from like our
Dolores Cannon, she says there were two waves of indigos. So the first wave were born in the 40s after the atomic weapon was taken. They became the hippies, which is why they were so open-minded. And then the second wave was when you said, which is basically 60s into the late 70s.
Yeah, it was the hippies that were having the kids, and then the kids were that second, I would imagine, is the second wave.
Yeah.
And then now that wave, imagine it like a sine wave going like this, right? Of energy. When it's going like this, now it's on the upward, right? We were on the cusp of it. Now it's shooting up. So our kids are like my grandchildren, for instance, right? My grandbaby that's going to be born here in a few months is going to be an indigo child, because they're going to be born with this updated, upgraded energy that the Earth Schumann is going through right now, because the Earth is shifting into the fifth dimensional state along with us. Right? It's not like we're just going to disappear and the Earth's not going to be it. The Earth is going to be, because Earth is vibrating and it's in all dimensions, and we're just going from one step to the next step, and then that's where I think they're all coming from.
Yeah, I agree. And on my presentation on Sunday, I'm going to show the galaxy's position and how the position of the galaxy and the position of Earth in relation to the photon belt of the Milky Way galaxy could also affect our frequency to make us more open to being a fifth dimensional planet at specific times in our, in our future and in our past. Because it is really a science. Like, that's why it's so awesome, because through quantum mechanics, right? Just not quantum mechanics, because that's what they've labeled it, but through the exploration of the subatomic world, right? And this, and through mainstream science now, we're able to quantify that there is definitely a shift going on in our solar system and in our own bodies, right?
Yeah.
So we have some comments here on DNA. So let me read these.
Looking at that, this goes back to what I was saying earlier. Some of these comments, like this first generation indigo, is they're very highly intuitive people. They're psychics and clairvoyants, and very high energy healers. And then in the comments, that's exactly what we're seeing, right? Born 57, always being psychic, astral projection.
Nice.
Right? Yeah, I'm first wave indigo. I've been connected since the 60s. Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure. And all of us are, it's kind of like a magnet, right? That's what I see Portal to Ascension as. It's like this magnet that's there, and all the people that are out there in this field that we're all interested in, because we're all talking and the word's spreading like every single day. All of us collectively are planting tens of thousands of seeds amongst our peers, and some of those seeds are sprouting and some not. And those ones there and all of us are kind of like, coming, what's that word, like the magnet. We're being attracted to the magnet. It's sucking us in, right? And we're being attracted to this entity that you've built, because Portal to Ascensions really is an entity of its own.
Hmm.
You're the brain behind it, and then there's kind of like an AI now, right?
Yeah,
Ascension, it's really what it is. It's
learning from his
information.
experiences.
Yeah, it's a information, AI. Really, you can go into Portal to Ascension and type in whatever you want, whatever you're interested in, and I guarantee whatever that you're interested in, you toss it into the search, it's going to come up.
Exactly. And and it's the beginning phases, really. Like I've been deep into the research of like just the cycles of time as of late, and it's just like it's just so beautiful to witness all of this coming out at this point, and knowing that all these institutions, these organizations that are designed to uplift humanity and consciousness are literally the beginning phases of a new paradigm that's going to take over the world, is going to be the whole entire planet. That there's going to be educational institutes in order to deprogram from the old paradigms and to create something new. People are creating that now. Even Portal to Ascension, like in a couple of years, I'm going to have land. I'm creating a whole entire Portal to Ascension center in the Yucatan, and it's just going to be epic, next level um, trauma, like healing, healing amnesia, concentrating, focusing, and intention on contact with ETs. People are doing this already, and in my lifetime, that's what I plan to create. So it's just really amazing to witness that all these individuals are coming up now, and in 1,000 years from now, like little businesses that got started in this moment that were designed to do some events on consciousness, it's going to be like a worldwide thing. Like that will be what the documentaries are on. That's will be what we are basically taught when we were raised as children. I'm really hopeful that that's how the world is going to be.
Yeah, me too. And really, this whole mess that we're involved in right now, I think has opened up a lot of people's eyes as to
Straight up.
what's going on. And I think this right here, right now, the previous year that we've gone through, is that shift. It is that stepping through the gate, because we've got a lot of mainstreamers that are turning and asking questions and being gravitated towards what we do over
Hmm.
here, what you do, what people in the crowd do, and they're beginning to ask questions. So I think the shift has already begun, and it's just a matter of us,
Yes.
supplying enough energy to it to keep it going, so that it just gains more and more and more momentum. So instead of like 1,000 years, I'm hoping that it could be in like 100 years, or even in like
Hmm.
50 years, so that I can
Exactly.
live to see it, right, in my own lifetime, instead of having
Yeah.
to incarnate and come back and and say, oh yeah, I remember the way it used to be, because I think that's how it's going to be in
Yeah.
the next phase of humanity, is that when you incarnate back to this world, you're going to remember your previous experiences that
Hmm.
you've had on this world, and then you'll be like, hey, I remember this, one portal to ascension, or I remember Watchers Talk, or I remember, yada yada yada, coast to coast, or whatever, right? You'll have like an absolute memory of it, just like as we do, but multiple lifetimes, whatever you've had.
Yeah.
And then you'll be able to really connect at that time as to and appreciate what's happening, because you've already had this experience over here compared to what you're experiencing in the next one.
Right. Right.
I
We
hope
have
that's
a
what happens anyhow.
Right. Me too. We have a comment here saying, "Will anybody talk about the super full moon on the 26th?" No, I wasn't thinking about that, but now that you mentioned it, remind us this weekend, and I'll make sure that we speak about that. That'd be something cool to add to this experience here. And to second what you're saying, from the study of the cycles of time, we left the dark ages in about 1700 AD, and it was a 200-year transition into 1900 AD. When we went into 1900 AD, we completely immersed ourselves into the Bronze Age. The Bronze Age is the age of the mental age, right? So we become very analytical, really mental, really rational people. But within the Bronze Age is also the rediscovery of subatomic world. By discovering the subatomic world, we're now tapping into the fabric of the universe. By tapping into the fabric of the universe, we have the potential to use that energy in whichever way we see fit. However, we're still in such a lower density that people can use it for their own personal gain, which is what we're seeing right now. After about 1,000 years of being in the Bronze Age, we shift into the Silver Age. So to second what you're saying is we are actually on the upturn, and we're going into an age now, because I think that the forgetfulness is only really a portion of this age and the full dark age.
Also, remember last time when we were speaking, you had mentioned that within the yugas, speaking of yuga, Dottie just put in, we are in the Kali Yuga, like within the yugas, we can create like sub-yugas, right? We can create like a golden yuga for ourselves.
Yes, you
We can
can
create,
always liberate yourself in every single state.
yeah, tell us a little bit about that,
Okay,
because I
so
found that really interesting.
I want to answer. Somebody said that we in the Kali Yuga. I thought that too until I took a whole course on the Yuga cycles about 1 month ago. Okay, and so basically they say we're in the Kali Yuga because this age is pretty dark still, right? We have a lot of war, a lot of poverty, and just chaos going on in the world. No text in the world talks about the dates of the ages except for one text. Only one text. Every single text talks about the ages. The two texts that speak about them the most, which happen to be coming from the same source, are the Vedic text and the Greek text.
Hmm.
The Greek, there was a poet. I think his name was Herodotus or something like that. It starts with the Hed.
Herodotus?
It could be, I don't remember. But the poet spoke about the ages of man, and
Mm.
he spoke about how man, humankind, acted in each of those ages. And that's all he spoke about. In this age, man acts like this. In this age, man acts like this. The Vedic text actually has a calendar with dates in it, and it shows you. And if you get the, and maybe I'll show you this this weekend. When you see it, actually, I'll just show you right now. It's on Google. So when you look at this map, let's see, Yuga, ages, dates. When you look at this, you can see that really huge things that took place in humanity's history actually happen at the same time as the shifting of these ages. And I'm going to share my screen, Omar. Okay, so here we go. Let's just get this one open right here. Pinterest, huh? Oh, no, that doesn't work. Okay, cool. So I'm going to just go like this, zoom in. All right, so check it out. This is the map from the Vedas, okay? So it talks about the different ages, and it's a 13,000 year cycle, but the ages actually are reflected on either side. So the Kali Yuga, there's two Kali Yugas back to back, and each of the Kali Yugas lasts for about 1,000 years. And then we have the Dwarpa Yuga that was before that. If you go back all the way to around the fall of Atlantis, and when Egypt was definitely in use, it could date back even further. We have the golden age right here around 11,500 BC. But what happened around 11,500 BC is also there was some sort of worldwide cataclysm. The Great Flood, Noah's flood, happened at that time. And so during a spiritual age, during an ascended age, we actually had um, a great flood and a devastation to the world through maybe a comet impact during that age. So when that age and when the flood occurred and all that stuff, and the individuals came out of that age, they were still actually conscious and able to use telepathy in order to communicate. Yes, things had got chaotic. Civilizations had to break up. Smaller tribes had to be created. Different civilizations need to be created. However, they still had the spiritual knowledge. Then they started falling from grace, so to speak, until we got to this age, 6,700 BC, which is the same time that we have first written texts discovered, because telepathy wasn't the common use anymore. They started, even though telepathy was still being used by some tribes and some individuals that had the opportunity for liberation, complete liberation, they started using it. Then after that, we see the introduction of vowels. Vowels weren't even used
Let me just
because,
let me
yeah,
just,
go for it.
let me just quickly ask you a question before you go any further.
Yeah, do
I'll
it.
probably forget. Is this why we don't have written language by the Aboriginals of North America, South America, Aborigines, and Australia?
Yeah, that's exactly why. So when you look at when you go and study these and take the courses on them and learn from the people that have dedicated their life to this information, that's exactly what they say, is that they even actually, what you just said was actually a slide within the course where they talk about the different tribes and how they did not need that in order to connect to the cosmos. So then we keep going down in
And then
cycle
we
until
turn
we
into
get.
oral stories.
Right. And then we get to around 3,100 BC, which is the time that India, who created the ancient Indians, created this timeline, start speaking about the War of the 10 Kingdoms. Game of Thrones? Game of Thrones is about the same thing. Game of Thrones is actually, you've probably seen many movies that have almost the exact same makeup with multiple kingdoms at war. Right now, at the top of my head, I can't think about it, but ancient times, the time when the elementals left the
Sands of
earth, for
time.
example. Say that again.
Sands of time.
Yes, and the whole concept as well that elementals used to live with humans on earth in
Mhm.
this age. But then the elementals started shifting out of frequency because we were becoming such a warlike civilization that we stopped living with them. And then we get to this time where there was a huge war to represent the beginning of this darker age, you know? And then we get to 700 BC. Now, 700 BC, the beginning of the Kali Yuga, is what? The time of all the great prophets, all the great minds, from Pythagoras to Buddha was coming up soon. All the individuals from 700 to like 300 BC. There was Confucius was there as well. So what happens at the beginning of each of these ages are
Wasn't there
certain
like three
liberated
of
people.
them? Wasn't there like three Confucius and a couple others that existed at the same time?
Yeah, there was, and I don't. That's I'd have to do research on all the names, but you're
Yeah,
right. There were multiple people that
yeah,
existed that
like
had this
three or
awareness.
four of them that existed at the very same time,
Hmm.
and they could have met and had a a discussion, but I don't think they ever did. But they did
There
exist
were
at
avatars.
the time. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So there were avatars that all came around 700 BC. Some of these avatars literally came at 700 BC, like the day, like almost like to the day of the beginning of the Yuga cycle. What happened at the beginning of every Yuga cycle? Go and take a look at what prophets came to the planet. And then your mind will be blown that they almost tie exactly with the shift of the cycles. So every time a cycle goes, there is a contractual thing with the dark energy, if you will. The contract is that you will always allow a way to escape this complete darkness and to be liberated. That's why, for example, even the Masons and everything, they have to manipulate you, or not the Masons, but let's just say secret societies. The way they manipulate you has to be in a way that doesn't violate certain rules that they've agreed upon, which is that you need to have a way out to liberate yourself during this whole time. Which is why in the Gnostic text, Lucifer literally was the volunteer to God in order to come to earth to give us the experience of darkness. But the agreement was that when the kingdom of heaven comes back down to earth, right now, beginning of Aquarius, you're going to have to give the keys up to God. A metaphor, just like Michael Feely said. What are the keys? The keys are just a shifting of a zodiac. Give the keys back to the God consciousness. Your time on this planet of Luciferian energy is over. Now it's time to shift into this God consciousness. And I'm going to leave it at that because I can go on forever for that.
I think I just pulled something up here, Neil, and
Yeah,
I
want to
think
share
what
it?
we're talking about is the axial ages, the axial age, and that's when just trying to think,
Hey, Brandon.
Confucius.
What's up, Brandon?
Hey guys, am I fashionably late slash somewhat on time for the end, or are we done?
You're fashionably late, but we decided to keep going because we're having too much fun. So you're right on time at the same time.
Okay, cool.
Omar, what's up? You wanted to show us something?
Yeah, I know it's going to take a bit more research. It doesn't say too much about it, but I thought it was called the axial ages, where I forgot the other two, man. It's been a while.
If
But
you find
these
more
will
info,
also
you
say
can share it.
at pretty much the same time, and it's interesting to note that, right? Because that really is a pivotal moment in the human history, because
Mhm.
something is happening where these great minds that are going to mold the future are, obviously are expressions of something much bigger.
Mhm.
That's forging something
Yes,
to happen here on Earth.
exactly. So do you want to share that maybe another day if you can't find it right now?
Yeah, I'll just look for another few seconds.
Okay.
If you just want to talk
Yeah,
with.
Brandon, tell us how you feeling, brother.
Dude, I haven't been able to listen in for the past few hours, just a few other responsibilities on the table, but I'd love to even just kind of like hear from your guys' perspective how it's been going. Obviously, we've been cultivating some pretty good momentum. Like any aha moments for you, Neil? Like what are you learning from this so far?
So Michael Feely's information. I don't know if you heard him. I love Michael Feely. I've heard him in many different situations. Uh, but he said a lot of things that were out of my beliefs at that point. But I'm completely open to shifting that all the time. But he did say some things on the dates of Egypt, and I've heard so many different things in regards to that. So I don't even know if I'm ever going to find out the truth of like how old this thing dates. But his perspective on that was very interesting. But especially his perspective that specific things in Egypt were actually a manifestation of the consciousness of the central mind in the planet rather than actually created by any beings. So I thought that was a profound piece of information that I would like to explore a little more, And then what else? Mary
That's awesome,
Rodwell's
dude.
great. Mary Rodwell's also awesome. Yeah. So tell us what do you feel about that? About like, have you explored the concept of ancient Egypt and the timelines at all?
Give me the quick synopsis again. Like
So he was
what's the
saying
big shift?
that Egypt is about 73,000 years old, right, Omar?
73,000 years
Yeah.
old. Yep. And
And
the Sphinx at the
the
same time.
pyramids and the Sphinx at the same time, and that rather than humans or extraterrestrials or whatever creating them, that they were actually created by the central mind, which is a consciousness, just sentient energy of creation, and not actually any individual people. So that, like, I'm open to that being a possibility, but it also wasn't something that I actually completely believed in this moment.
Gotcha. Yeah, like even that concept, like I would have to probably go back and listen to get a full scope on what that actually means.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's quite obvious that like the Egypt that we know today is only just a small kind of glimpse into what it was at one point. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that's not news for everybody who's here, but
Mhm.
and then even still, it's just like and then it's like what came before Egypt and what else is there, and then
Yeah.
what's outside of our petri dish.
Yeah, it's mind blowing. It's mind expanding, really, because that's what I got into this for. I wanted to find out the root of everything. The last year and a half during the whole world situation, I've just completely immersed myself in studying history, and even like just the history of Russia for the last 2,000 years. I can like tell you the history of Russia, and I've just been really trying to find out and connect all the dots. But every time I try to research more, I just have more questions, because there were so many tribes, so many civilizations. We intermingled with so many different people. Just to say it and limit it to, well, this tribe came down here, merged with this one, and now we have this culture, is only looking at a portion of the picture. Feel me?
Like, no, to jump in here, Michael Feely's work is extremely deep.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to, it's very esoteric as well, right? And in order to understand it in depth and really understand where Mike is coming from, like I showed earlier, you would have to read, a handful of books that he's written on the subject.
That's true.
I feel that his work is somewhere alongside. If I was to use a parallel of it, where people are on the fence or don't understand it, it would be something like Corey Good, or Emery Smith, where they're doing 20 and back, 20 and back, 20 and back. Majority of the people have a pretty hard time grasping onto that idea of how that's possible.
Yeah.
So I think Michael Feely's work, when we use it as a parallel, is kind of along that same line. When it comes to Egypt, I don't feel that the current Egyptians that we have today, or even their ancestors for that matter, had anything to do with the construction of the pyramids and the megalithic structures that are scattered across Egypt.
Say that one more time. You don't think who has anything to do with it?
The current Egyptians.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I don't think they have anything to do with it. They just came across this stuff and just repurposed it and tried to fix it. It's like Brian Forster says, right? You have megalithic stones on one side, and then you have rubble and then small bricks trying to repair a hole or whatever the case may be, right? So that's pretty good evidence that they had nothing to do with it. So when we say Egyptians, we're not really, providing a proper term
context,
right? We need to think beyond that now, because we're now mentally aware of the fact that they had nothing to do with it, but yet we continue to spit the fact that ancient Egyptians, when really they had nothing to do with it. We should express those sites in a far greater detail, but in a term that's short, just like ancient Egypt, right? Where people understand what we're talking about. That's my thinking on it anyways. I don't want to take anything away from Egypt. I don't want to be that guy in that room that says, take it away. I don't want to do that. I'm just saying that, in order for us to, educationally explain this, we need to have greater context into that term.
Yeah, because pre-dynastic Egypt, right? What we have in the books was
Yeah.
like 3000 BC, okay? And it seems like those individuals could have actually came to the pyramids that were already abandoned by some advanced civilization, took it over, took down some hieroglyphs, put their hieroglyphs up, wrote over other hieroglyphs, claimed some hieroglyphs for themselves, and removed the face of the lion on the Sphinx and added their own face, you know? So I feel from my research, which I'm completely open to shifting if there's more research that comes about, is that there was pre-dynastic Egypt where people that took over the existing one. There was the ones before that who knows where they went and dispersed to. Some say they came to the Native Americas, brought pyramid technology elsewhere and all that. And then before that, there was probably a greater civilization that they were the descendants of, right? And that's the whole Atlantis, Egyptian, pre-dynastic Egypt, current day thing. But then my other explanation could be that I could be 26,000 years off. It could be that Atlantis fell 36,000 years ago when the last zodiac and the last ice age was around that time. And then Egypt was created around 35,000 years ago. The Sphinx was created when the constellation of Leo was in the sky, which was 35,000 years ago. And then the rest of Egypt, existed for multiple thousand years after that. I know
What
it's a
if,
mouthful, but I'm just kind of trying to track it together.
what if it's older than that? What if it's like
It
say
could be, yeah.
175,000 years old when
Yeah.
the last ice age set in? And that's one of the reasons, possibly why we have underground cities around the world, like Kuyu and stuff, is when the first, the ice age set in 175,000 years ago, the globe turned into an ice ball, everybody went underground. And when that melted, they came out and built the Sphinx. Another ice age set in, they went back under and came out. And that's maybe one of the reasons why so much knowledge is being lost.
Yeah.
Is because because of that fact of existing underground generation after generation after generation, never seeing the sky, and then suddenly you come out where you've heard stories of these megaliths around the world,
Yeah.
and then you go out looking for them when when the ice starts to melt. But I definitely think that the pyramids are older than our current dates anyways. I'm thinking more, perhaps even a few million years old.
Yeah.
Like Lemurians might have built it like 3 million
Ooh,
years.
okay. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. And ultimately, it comes down to the fact that we cannot carbon date inorganic matter.
Yeah.
Right? So you never truly know. And it definitely is the case that we keep figuring out every 20 years or so that humanity and Homo sapiens have been on planet Earth much longer than we were previously thought. Right?
Yeah.
So it's all quite possible. And it blows my mind, really. It's just like, I want to know, but I know there may be no way to know.
Do you think yourself, your personal opinion, do
Yeah.
you think that aliens built the pyramids, or do you think humans built the pyramids that were like extremely advanced?
I used to think it was ETs, but now I think it's advanced humans. But I think the advanced humans may have had contact with ETs in the past.
What made you shift your focus to that?
The understanding of the ages and the realization that we were actually at an advanced level of consciousness, that we were able to use our consciousness in order to bend and manipulate matter, and we were able to use technology in order to create, for example, Pumapunku, the H blocks there, and also in Peru, I forget what wall it is, but the wall, I think it's in Cusco, that has I'll just show you guys right now, might as well. Do you know what it's called? Wall in...
No, I can't.
When you can't even fit like a hair blade in it.
Otherwise, that looks like a corn cob.
Peru.
Um,
Let's see. I think I can find it for you guys here.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
boom,
make
boom.
good
First thing.
PowerPoint.
All I had to do was type in wall in Peru, and there it is. Okay, so this right here, right? You must have seen. Basically, this predates anything Inca or anything in this last couple of ages. This was probably Silver Age or Golden Age time, right? But the way this has been put together, it seems like the only way experts are saying anything about it is that it looks like it was put together, then melted in order to fill in the gaps, and then re-solidified. Some sort of technology using consciousness, maybe. And this dates back to that time. So I feel that they had the ability spiritually, consciously, in order to not use technology like we're using now, but to use organic technology in order to manipulate matter. So that's why I'm thinking that, you know, it probably was humans, but I'm completely open to the fact that we were also in advanced age and they might have been interaction with extraterrestrials at that time too. There could have been a trade going on. When you get to that level of consciousness, it's not like there's a hierarchy, like these ETs are higher than you and know more than you. It becomes a conscious trade and more transparent, I believe. And so that's to answer your question. That's what I think now, but I definitely.
Pumapunku, the stones, they're strewn everywhere, and it looks like it's in mud. How do you think that happened?
Pumapunku, the stones. Which one is it?
The H blocks.
Oh, okay.
Looks like they're spread
So
everywhere. They're buried in mud. How do you think that happened?
yes. Oh, these are shoes. Okay, actually, the ancient folklore. Oh, pumas. They're trying to give me puma. Like what? H blocks, Peru, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so these right here, the ancient folklore says that they were brought there by giants. That's what the local folklore says about that area.
Which giants? The ones that are 10 feet tall with double row teeth found in Ohio, or the ones previous to that were like 30 feet tall? And
well, it depends on how old. If they carbon dated them, I would say that this would probably be around the time of the Greek Titans.
Oh yeah.
You know, so which is around the time of Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of those stories are like, oh, if Atlantis was 13,000 BC, so maybe 11,900 BC, 13,000 years ago. These are just numbers we're throwing out there because no one truly knows, because a lot of us are going in with the context of the last 26,000 year cycle, because even if you're a researcher in this within the alternative archaeology, it's even difficult for them to really go past that, you know.
Yeah.
But it could be past that. Who knows? But I do know that a lot happened in Peru, and Peru is one of the largest archaeological sites in the entire world. It's almost like a complete archaeological site. And there's a lot of evidence for the Paracas people thousands of years ago. So this going to around 13,000 years ago makes sense to me, just because of all the other, quote, drama that took place from then in the entirety of Peru that we know dated back maybe just a few thousand years ago.
How do you think the H blocks ended up in the mud?
Like they dug in, right? They
some of the structures, like, you know, it looks like there was a massive flood and they got pushed over and mud went over it and buried some, and others didn't. How do you think that happened?
So you think what you just said made it sound like it could be natural, right?
Possibly, it could be around the same time as
the Great Flood,
around the Young Dryas, when we had the comet coming in that hit Greenland. It may have broke apart, and some of it hit the Indian Ocean. And then it caused a big tsunami that came in and hit Peru here. Do you think that the Moai, how they're buried in the mud, are somehow connected to the event that took place at Pumapunku, where the H blocks are, where that site is?
Can you spell that so I can pull it up?
The Moai.
Moai.
You know how half the Moai, they're like buried.
Yeah, so how these got in the ground?
Yeah.
Speculating here, I think they were put in by humans.
You think somebody buried them in there, and that it wasn't a natural event?
Actually,
or an event of some sort?
It could be that it was.
If
there was a great flood, it would make sense that if like the whole world got upturned by these huge tsunamis around the world, it could actually do this.
Yeah, especially when you look at this site here, and then you go to the Pumapunku site, where you have those megalithic stone that's like buried in mud. Some of it is on an angle like this, right? That's buried and wedged into the mud. And when you look at that in the Pumapunku, I wonder if it's the same event that took place and ravaged the Easter Islands and hit the South American continental shelf, and then went a little bit back. Because if you look at it on Google Earth, it almost looks like a huge tsunami hit the continent. And it went in a little bit, and there's no vegetation. That's around the same place as that other site. What's that called? Muscui or something like that, where those stone heads are. You know the one I'm talking about in Peru?
I'm not sure what they're called.
Stone forest. Put that in Peru stone forest. Like these. Yeah, there you go. This is the site. Check out that skull right there.
You know, they also found.
This.
No, I haven't heard of this site before, actually.
Look at that skull. That's like right there.
Which one are we talking about? Over here?
Grave on second line.
On this or over here somewhere?
Over there. Yeah. Keep going to your right. Another one. Yeah. No. Back the other way. That one. Yeah. See, a
Interesting.
human head. You see the human head. You see the nose, the lips, the chin,
Yeah.
the skull. There's a turtle there as well. There's camels. There's one stone there that has a carving like that of like 3 heads, like an Arab head, African head, and like an Asian head, and all 3 of them are like in one. So you have to turn and you have to look. But the odd thing is that this guy right here, he's looking right at Easter Island.
Huh.
Kind of weird.
Yeah,
and if you go to that next picture, it kind of looks like Darth Vader. Yeah,
It
this
does.
one right there. Yeah.
You know,
Yes,
and
right there.
that goes into the whole question because a lot of people believe that Lemuria existed in the Pacific, right?
Yeah.
And that when Lemuria went under the ocean, that there was 2 land bridges that connected to the Americas. One of the land bridges connects to currently Northern California and directly connects to Mount Shasta, right? So that's why a lot of people believe that the Lemurians went into underground, into hollow earth in Mount Shasta. And that's why if you go to Mount Shasta, there's all this Lemurian stuff around everywhere. And then you have the other land bridge that was Easter Island, and Easter Island is the remnants of it. So the question is really how old do these go, and was Lemuria, because some people say Lemuria was way earlier before Atlantis. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Lemuria, when we look in the root races, Lemuria, we're looking at like 3 million years, 7 million years.
Yeah, and that goes in with the whole Mars connection too, because there's information that the Martians that were also living on Mars at that time, when Mars was actually in its decline, came down to live and coexist with the Lemurians.
And also, if you know, what's that landmass in the Indian Ocean? Mu.
Well, isn't Mu Lemuria? Isn't it the same thing?
Yeah, it's in the Indian Ocean. Did it really sink, or is it India?
Oh, are you talking about south of the ocean?
Yeah,
Connecting Sri Lanka?
that's right.
India.
No, I'm talking where Madagascar is, right? Where Madagascar is, there's you know, they say that there was a continent there. Let me pull it out.
Yeah, show it. So we're gonna wrap up here in like 6-7 minutes, 10 minutes, everybody. And just to remind everybody that wishalliance.org, go ahead and sign up there if you would like to. The after party starts in 10 minutes over there, and I'll be there right in the beginning to talk about this event. Non-stop. Did you find it?
I'm just looking for it right now. Mu was in between. That was, yeah, the Mu was in the Pacific Ocean, and then the one that was in the Indian Ocean.
Eric said rock welding with another application of the mind melt, talking about those rocks in Peru. Yeah, probably.
I think those are probably like the oldest structures that that we have. Kamari Kondo is what I'm talking about.
Okay, never heard of it.
You never heard of it?
Mm-mm.
Here, I'll.
You want to share a screen?
Yeah, how do I share screen?
Oh, I'm looking at it. That's interesting.
Right here.
Okay, well, we'll end it on what you're about to show right here, and then I'll do a poetry in order to close out for today.
Do you see that?
Yep.
Right here. This is the one that I was talking about. This landmass here, and the same thing goes with this landmass here. It's the same story as is for Atlantis and as there is for Mu, and that it sank beneath the ocean. And oddly enough, Neil, I did a show with this guy called Rob Shelsky a few years back, and we were talking about the Mandela effect. And in the movie Dazed and Confused, when the 2 people, they're sitting in a classroom, they're talking and they're planning on what they're going to do after school, and one girl is spinning the globe, right, the prop that they had there, and if you pause it and then actually view the globe frame by frame by frame, off the coast of Australia on the west coast, going out about 200 miles, 100 miles, 200 miles around there.
Yeah.
There's a massive, massive island,
Interesting.
huge, huge island there. Like, I mean, this thing is huge. It has a bay, right? Like it opens up like that. It's a circular and has a bay in it. And it's really bizarre. You know, I'll take a screenshot off the video and send it to you. So it was pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
That is interesting. Actually, I wish there was a documentary about this land, man. I've never heard of it. Sounds
Yeah,
pretty interesting.
Yeah, this
I wonder
pretty
what how long ago it dates to. Any idea?
about the same time as Glumeria.
Yeah.
At the same time, because there's stories in Sri Lanka, the Tamil people, they say that they're descendants of an ancient civilization, and they talk about Lemuria in their stories as well. But they talk
Yeah.
about Kamari Kundam as well in their stories, and they say that they're the descendants of them. And then I began thinking, is that, hey, what if this island that they're talking about was actually the mainland India that was in the Indian Ocean, and when it slid into the Asian plate and became India as we know it today, what if that's what they're talking about, and it actually never really did sink into the Indian Ocean? And then you have Sri Lanka there, which you know, if we go back just 12,000 years, 100 meters of ocean rise, that's about 350 feet of water. And if you take that 350 feet of water out, then you got Dwarka that gets uncovered, and also Rama's Bridge.
Yeah, I'm about to show that right now. I have that right here.
Right here, I'll stop sharing my screen, and maybe you can show.
Yeah, that one's a huge trip, because this right here is connects India, the tip of India, to Sri Lanka, and it is 350. What would you say? How deep was it?
350 feet of water. If you, you know, and that's how much the water rose in the last melt off during the Younger Dryas.
Yeah. So that was already verified, and people knew that. And then when we went and discovered this, rediscovered it, and took a look at how deep it was, it matched hand in hand with how much the ocean rose.
Isn't that canny? And same thing with Dwarka. Dwarka is 120 feet underwater, and they say that that's Krishna's city, and he founded the city, and it was made of crystal and stone and precious metals. And right now I'm watching a series on our alien ancestry with Stephen and Evan Strong, and they're talking about Atlantis rings that have been fused with metal and crystal. So I'm wondering to myself, I wonder if that's kind of somehow connected to what, you know, Krishna is saying with, 900 temples that he had built of, crystal and rock. And I wonder if that's kind of somehow connected, right? So I'm looking a little bit more further into that, but everything matches, bro. Look at that.
Yeah, it does. And just to let everybody know the story, the Ramayana, which is, I was raised on the Ramayana. I watched 100 episodes of the Ramayana as a child, and then had to watch. Then I watched the new version when I grew up. And basically, the story is there was a king. His name was Ramana, and one of his father's wife did not like him and wanted her son to be the next heir, even though Rama was the older son. Okay, so this is how Indian New Year's got created. So I'm about to tell you some information you might not know, and if you don't know about Diwali, this is the story of Diwali. So let's get some images to show here, Rama and Sita. So this individual right here, Rama, blue guy, and we'll talk about the color blue tomorrow because it didn't enter humans articulation or writing until around 700 BC. But Ramana, he had to basically leave. His dad said that, hey, you have to go and live in the forest for, I think it was 40 years and 40, something like that, around 40 years. And
I've heard that before.
Yeah, it was because the other mother didn't want him there, wanted her son to be the king. His brother, half brother that was going to be king, didn't want to become king, wanted Rama to become king, and said, hey, no, you should become king. And Rama was such a good son that he said, you know what, I'm going to leave, I'm going to listen to my father, I'll be back after this whole thing occurs, after this whole thing's over. So he leaves. A couple of his half brothers go with him, and his half brothers, because Ramana is a reincarnation of Vishnu. Okay, this is Vishnu right here. Vishnu reincarnated into Ramana, but every one of Vishnu's snakes also reincarnated into humans as well. Each one of these snakes incarnated into half brothers of Rama. Okay, so Vishnu incarnated into Rama. Each of these snakes incarnated into half brothers of Rama. When Rama left and went into the forest, and with his wife Sita, because Sita would follow him to the end of the world, and literally did follow him to the end of the world in that moment. Also, all of his brothers left with him to keep him and protect him and be around him, right? So he went there and he had his brothers, his half brothers with him. He had Sita, but then this evil individual, his name was Ravana. This evil demon that was basically, and it's very interesting because in the end, when Ravana's dying, when Rama says, "Why did you do this?" and he said, "Because I loved you so much. I was trying to get your attention. I wanted to talk to you and you wouldn't listen." That was like the impurity of his intent originally, that he was trying to get Vishnu's attention in the heavens. God wouldn't listen, came down to earth, decided to create chaos. Ravana is what in modern day text? The Lucifer of the story. So Ravana steals Sita. This is fun. Just doing it in Google. It's like a slideshow made in the moment. Ravana steals Sita and takes her to where? Takes her to Sri Lanka. Creates a huge fortress there with all of these.
Stargate in Sri Lanka as well.
Say that again?
There's a Stargate in Sri Lanka as well.
Takes her there and has all these half hybrid-like beings working with him, like these monster kind of half human.
Yeah, the Blue Monkey Army.
Well, no, that's Rama's army. So Ravana had these half demon-like entities. Okay, now we have a connection to the Sumerian Anunnaki story, hybridization project. There were a group of another Homo sapien, just a humanoid, not Homo sapien, that existed on the planet at the same time, at that time, that was coexisting and took Ravana aside and were on Sri Lanka protecting him. However, there was also another species of beings that existed on the planet. Half monkey, half human beings, another hybridization.
That's right. And then blue skin as well.
Exactly. But Hanuman, which was the king of all these people, was actually the reincarnation of
Vishnu.
Shiva.
Shiva.
Rama was Vishnu. Shiva was the reincarnation. I mean, Hanuman was the reincarnation of Shiva. Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma are the Trinity. Yeah. Vishnu and Shiva, really good homies. So they wanted to. When Vishnu came down to earth, Shiva said, "Hey, I got your back. I'm gonna come down too. I'm gonna come down as the king of these people. My people will follow you, and I'll help you out." So what did they do? When Ravana took Sita to Sri Lanka, Hanuman and his people created the land bridge that connected India to Sri Lanka in order for the army that was Rama's army to go across in full force with all of their weapons and whatever they had, advanced technology weapons. Because if you look at Ramana, it's a bunch of lightning bolts and crazy like next level like Star Trek weapons, right?
Lightning bolts shooting out and
golden chariots with lights coming out of every side, vimanas.
You hold it in your hand and shot out lightning bolts. I forgot what it's called. It's got the two bells on either side.
I forgot the name too.
Yeah, you grab it and then, damn, I forgot the name of it.
So then they came over this, and that's why it's called Rama's Bridge. So fast forward to the future, now we're looking at the end of the last ice age. We see that this bridge was probably created around that time. It's around 350 underneath the ocean. So that goes hand in hand with, the ice age and the rise in the oceans. And we can now verify that the bridge that was talked about in Ramayan text that is over 3,000 years old, the story around 3,000 years ago, actually exists. And that's the story of Rama and Sita. And it probably took place around 13,000 years ago.
And as well, Dvarka, because up until now, until recently, they've all said that Dvarka, which is spoken in the Mahabharata and all the other poems, that it was a mythical city, that it didn't exist. And then in 1996, they found it under 120 feet of water in what's that called, the Gulf of Cambay. I think it's in. That's a pretty cool place too. You can totally tell. And then you got that place off the coast of Cuba. Same thing, that there was megalithic stuff that was going on there. Then you got Yanaguni. same thing, under, I don't know, like 200 feet of water, 300 feet of water, same thing happening over there as well. And Sunderland, and then we got Sunderland, same thing, where the Gunung Panang pyramid is. And oddly enough, speaking of that, Neil, the Gunung Panang pyramid, it looks the same type of condition as where the H blocks are found. And same thing with Easter Island.
Yeah, exactly.
Looks like they got buried in mud. Looks like there was a huge tsunami that just like ripped across the entire planet and probably stopped with Peru because of the high continental shelf, right? Just took
Exactly.
away the energy and just kind of just obliterated everything along its way. Right from there on out. And that one might explain as to the fact that if you have a continent that sinks into the ground and then disperses all that water, that there would be a huge, huge tsunami. Then I wonder why we don't have that type of evidence in off the coast of Africa, right? East coast of Africa, like Madagascar, Kenya, Congo, just right along the eastern coast, even South Africa, because there should be some sort of tsunami damage, but I don't think we find any. Because
there was some information about safe areas during the tsunami. I don't know if it wiped over the whole entire planet,
Yeah.
So there could have been areas that, I mean, if a comet hit the planet, I mean, it could rock the whole planet and there could be a flash flood everywhere, but will it affect every single corner, every single part of the planet? Maybe there were areas that weren't affected.
What if it wasn't a comet? What if it was a landmass that sank into the ocean and then dispersed all?
Well, what do you think made it sink?
Possibly a like a empty magma chamber type of thing inside the mantle, underneath the mantle. Maybe a pocket opened up, because we know there's a huge ocean below the mantle, and possibly maybe a fissure opened up and weakened the area and the entire thing, like kind of like a sinkhole inside the ocean.
Well, they have found a residue all over the planet that implies that there could have been some sort of impact, because when you go 13,000 years down to the ground, there's this film that, takes over the entire planet. But it could be that too. However, when it comes to Atlantis, a lot of researchers say that Atlantis fell in 3 times. It didn't fall all in one time, that it actually, so a lot of people in Atlantis didn't really die with the island. Many of them were actually leaving and starting in different civilizations all over the planet at the same time.
Makes sense, because there's some text out there that says that with every change of times, when there's a shift happening, the previous one has to be destroyed. So usually it's a cataclysmic event that happens that destroys the previous civilization in order for the next one to
like clockwork,
and not have that effect, just like clockwork.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're going through here right now. I don't want to really talk about that, but same
we
thing.
We can go on forever, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I see Paul Anthony West Wallace. Paul Wallace is in the room.
Right on. Shout out to Paul Wallace. His book just came out, The Scars of Eden. It's been sold out. It's like number one right across the world. So it's doing very good. And congratulations to Paul Wallace.
Yeah, and Paul, I just want to say, if you want to, brother, on Sunday we're doing an ancient history panel with JJ Desiree Hertak, Alan Steinfeld, some other guy who does some Sphinx information. But if you want to, 2:40 on Sunday, we have a 1-hour ancient history panel. If you want to be a part of it, just say yes right now. Come in the room at that time, and we'd love to have you on, so you can, share your wisdom too.
Oh yeah, okay. Paul Wallace has so much to share. So much. I've learned so much from this guy. Amazing guy. He's got the Fifth Kind TV. That's just a bomb channel. That one. My God.
Yeah. All right, bro. I think we're gonna close up. So I'm gonna do a little poetry, and then we're done for today.
Coolies, brother. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. And don't forget to like and share this video to help us fight the thought police out there, because what we're all going through here right now. So share this video, because everyone deserves the truth.
Exactly. All right, everybody. So I'm going to do a poem, but first I'm just going to tell you one more time about the schedule for tomorrow, just so that you're going to get an email again with the replay. If you want, share it around. That would be awesome. It's going to be a YouTube link for right now, and then tomorrow you're going to get a link 1 hour before the event to join live. And also on Saturday, we start at 11:40. So every day is 10 a.m. Pacific, which is 1 p.m. Eastern, which is 6 p.m. London time, which is 8 p.m., which is 7 p.m. France time. So if you guys want to join in, we start at that time, 10 a.m. Pacific, every day except for Saturday, 11:40. And one more time, the schedule for tomorrow is the following. We're starting with Joan of Angels. We're going with Celestine Star, information on ultra-terrestrials. We're doing Jamie Janover, ancient sites and its connection to fractal geometry. We have Peter Sterling, cymatics and harp music. We have Wayne Perry using the voice for therapy, sound with voice, vocal cords.
Neil, Paul said he's in. Sorry.
Okay, cool. Yeah, for sure. You made me jump, bro. I got scared right there. I was like, whoa, where'd that come from? That was loud. It's all good though. Okay, so then we have Laura Eisenhower, and we're gonna have Paul. So Paul said yes, everybody. You're gonna get to experience Paul 2:40 on Sunday, which will be with JJ Desiree Hertag, Alan Steinfeld, and a couple other people, including myself and Omar. And then we have Laura Eisenhower tomorrow at 2. We have Chief Golden Light Eagle following that. We have Paul Hynek, the son of Alan Hynek, after that. And then we're going to close with JJ Desiree Hertag, Mirabi Davey, Meg Benedicte, Billy Carson for the Ascension panel. So it's going to be an amazing day tomorrow. And that's it for now. So I'm going to go ahead and share 2 poems with you all. So this first poem here is called The Story of the Anunnaki. And again, Wish Alliance has just started. So if you want to go in Wish Alliance and be a part of that event, please do. So I wrote this quite a long time ago, but it's basically the story of the Anunnaki as I have learned it over the times. Blood, is it ready to be read as holy scriptures, ingrained on tablets with the sweat of the dead Sumerians, who worship gods for life fiending in the Garden of Eden? Could I be your god? Worshipping deities who worship entities who worship themselves. What is the atomic quantum level that we can reach? Is it there, or are we at the gates ready to breach entry? I can't burn, awaiting my turn to be dematerialized, to once again may rise or never even be what we call society. Conscious language process in the mind. This is the soul systematic song that is all about wrong being wrong. Welcome to my mentality and the manifestation of ways, human slaves diplomatically to save the day. The lord of the black hole's constant twirl, the source of the white hole's matter to form galaxies and worlds. Am I God? God, I'm vibrating at speeds, destroying desires and needs beyond comprehension, the henchman who collects souls, redefine desolate scriptures and I make them laws. You see, it began with Mesopotamia and the sons of God, who were the lower tier of the interdimensional beings in ancient Sumer. We were created from, genetically mutated from, Crow to Pro-Magnum, almost as if overnight. I speak of the old ancestry, the wormhole which we were given air to breathe, range of frequencies and a limited mental capacity. Do you remember? The daughters of men, the Nephilim. Who could we be? Made in the image of the Anunnaki, retreated over the Black Seas and left a Masonic breeze to sweep over the planet to reinsure the incarnation of unwilling souls, to be ripped out from the federation of galactic black holes and instant travel between dimensions. You see the stones? They became the Freemasons. The Vatican and the organization of the occultist industrial system created a prison out of this vision, envisioned the shackles of division. When the asteroid's collision with Nibiru was struck with precision, it fragmented matter from another solar system. It fragmented matter from another solar system. Fragmentation of my fractal vision traveled here from another solar system. In this world of calamity, with organized piety making people drop to their knees, you and I, we be the free. People see right in front. Time for the peripheral, narrow-minded ignorance. Be the bigger man and see the benevolence. The interdimensional energy of love holds my truth above other dimensions. I'm that anti-level vacuum being sucked down with the pull of a black hole, recycled in this universe that shows acceptance. Knows acceptance by accepting the predicament that I am in. With all the government makes me think I do is all I do is a sin. Straight fear-mongering. So I write with a pen to show beginning to an end. Just know we chose to be here. Tear perceptions of fear. And remember, Jah will be waiting there. It's time to believe in yourself. To forget monetary wealth. To concentrate on your health. I felt lost, stones pelt, body bloody, judged by those who say they love me. But what does love mean within these lower frequencies of emotions, causing mental erosions? I'm frozen in a rapidly moving time. With holes in the heavens, flow of energy from realms of divine essence. These beings think that we're under the guide to receive lessons of ascension? No. The gods we show, the biblical portrayal of Jesus in pagan rituals, the deities who we worship and bow, ask for forgiveness, and how can we reach the kingdom of heaven? away from ourselves, looking externally for personified God, indemnified soul of the old ancestry of the duality of friends and foes. Know this, the energy level will persist. The new world order doesn't matter one bit. No one world without singularity. Physical perceptions manifest in realms of spirituality. No order, pure anarchy to set all of humanity in 13 different third-dimensional planetary systems free. So follow me, and we will transcend and ascend to the fourth density. I love you all. This is the final poem, and this is the subtle, calm one that we're going to phase out on. See you all tomorrow, hopefully. Check out the replay. Share it with all your friends and families. Please go to Portal to Ascension. Check out some of our other events too. Meditate and levitate. Waves of frequencies resonate higher. I'm connected to the provider. Source of cosmic energy, we're going to be one single entity, expansion remedied, oneness must breathe, exhale and let free, consciousness to be, experiences of you and me. Souls of interdimensional beings to feel, hear, and see this third-dimensional planetary existence. All time can be found in one instance. In this realm of linearity, atoms in anarchy, quantum polarity, the epitome of creation. Facing our egos, acquiring patience, waiting to let go of our nations and join the federations of souls that will take us to the fifth world.